This video is all about this little fella here. This little fella is actually called the Selmer Mark 7, and the first thing that you'll notice is that it has this nice raw brass finish. And of course, that's not to everybody's taste, but I like it, so I don't care what you lot think. And it's a bit difficult to keep a shiny saxophone clean, so this raw brass is just the ticket for me, and I'm not being lazy at all. Well, maybe just a little bit. But jokes aside, I do like this sort of finish. I think it looks very nice, and it does have that vintage look about it, although by now a Selmer Mark 7 is classed as a vintage saxophone. So let's have a quick look around this little fella. First thing you might notice, apart from the patterner, is on your low C and E flat keys. Look at this bulbous bit. Look at the bulbous bobbly bit on the end there of your low C key. I guess it's just another little ergonomic design. It feels fine actually. But my hands are like a bear's paw, so I can reach that area no problem. It also has this high F sharp key in here where I'm wiggling my finger at. Now let's have a listen to my favourite noise. Yep, that's ringing well. I would even go as far as to say that the key layout and the overall feel of these Mark 7s is probably amongst the most comfortable in the Selmer range, if not the most comfortable. Some might disagree and some might agree. Again, it's all down to personal preference. Now unfortunately, this little fella seems to have lost a key guard off the back here. The reverse F sharp here. You can see where the solder mark is on there. Has a typical 3-point body to bell brace right here. A lot of the Chinese and Taiwanese horns, in fact a lot of the horn makers have copied that design. Let's have a look at the pinky cluster for your left hand. Now I like this design because it's slightly bigger, and that low B flat key there is a little bit longer with this raised bit here, so it keeps your little pinky locked in there. Has this very long roller on there. So it's quite a comfortable design, and I like that. It's a bit more ergonomically sound than, say, some of the earlier models of Selmers. The palm keys I have zero complaints about. They're nice, tight and compact, and they feel very comfy. Now that brings me on to my little friend, of course, this thing here. Do you know what this is? It's my little friend, the octave key. And of course, it doesn't matter if it's a vintage horn or a new horn, the octave key is just going to go absolutely insane like this. Look at it. Go on, mister. Just get that wiggling out your system. You know you want to. Go on, mister. So let's get my mouthpiece on this saxophone. Let's make a noise. And if you're curious, this is my Dukoff Miami D8. I've just had a friend of mine touch it up, do a little bit refacing, correct the rails and things. So a big shout out to Mr. Saxxas for making this play absolutely fine. I love this mouthpiece. So don't be scared because it's a Dukoff Miami D8, the same as what Sanborn used to use. It can scream if you want it to be, but they can also be sweet. Don't judge a book by its cover because these little Dukoffs can play really well. It depends on how you play them, like everything. So I'll stop preaching about the beauty of the Dukoffs, and I'll get playing this Mark 7, and I'll speak to you lot after I've made a bit of a noise on it. The Mark 7 is probably, if not my favourite, in the Selmer range. I would even stretch to say that the Mark 7 is the most underrated saxophone in the Selmer range. In fact, I would say the build quality, the design, the whole technical spec is better than a Mark 6. The tuning's better, the feel under the fingers is better, the build quality is better. When I was a kid, there was so much dislike or people looking down their noses at the Mark 7s, and now I realise what it is. They were just Mark 6 snobs looking down their little noses because something different came along. Well, I'm sorry, Mark 6 lovers. It's a better horn in almost every way than a Mark 6. Sorry if you hate to hear that, but that's just the truth. Well, that's my truth anyway. And I know Mark 6s get a lot of the attention because certain players played them. So picture this scenario. If the Mark 7 was around when the Mark 6s were in their heyday and all these big players were playing them, and if they played a Mark 7, I'm pretty sure a lot of them would have jumped ship from the Mark 6 onto the Mark 7, simply because the tuning's more stable, the intonation's more stable, and the keywork is a lot more comfortable. But that's just my views on it. Call it right, call it wrong. I don't think there's any right and wrong there. It's all down to subjectivity. And to be fair, every Mark 7 player I've met, including myself, really rates the Mark 7. It's just a great horn. Now, this particular horn might not be the best example of a Mark 7 because it's had a lot of little injuries and I've had to service it and put it right. But regardless, it's still played very well. So to me, that means it stood the test of time. It can take a bit of a hammering and it still comes out on top and plays really well. So yeah, durability, good tuning, looks nice. It's a decent alto. So if you've got the chance to grab a hold of a Mark 7 for a reasonable price, I think you can't go wrong there because they're just increasing in value. So that's my views on this Mark 7 alto. I class them as very underrated, very over-criticised, and just nice instruments to play. Okay, so that wraps up this video. Can you do me a huge favour if you're new to my channel? Click on that subscribe button or click on like at least. That doesn't cost you anything, and don't be lazy. Don't be lazy, don't be horrible. Click on like, click on subscribe, and you'll catch my stupid face in the next video. Dun 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 dun.